All right, so today we are going to talk about speaking in front of kids, how to prepare speaking in front of children of all ages, how to present and how to deliver these presentations. All right, so let's get started. My slideshow traditionally so far, always at the beginning, has a small hesitation, so just bear with me a moment as the presentation catches up to speed with us. There we go. Okay. So the overview of what we will talk about a bit more. So we will talk about myself and my connections with this material, how to be prepared, the 5 W's. If you were on my presentation the other night, this may seem a bit familiar, a little different tonight. Attention, how to get and maintain student attention while you are teaching, and how to plan for activities in the classroom, both in English as a foreign language, and other activities as well, recreationally. All right, a bit about me. So I have been working with kids for the past 10 to 12 years. I started working in summer camps, local summer camps, and I have worked as a camp director. I currently work as an administrator and teacher for a local after-school program. I work currently with elementary age students, so kindergarten through 5th grade, which is ages 5 to 10 right now. I also work teaching English as a foreign language to students 5th grade, 7th grade, adults as well. And I have in the past been a theater instructor in camp, a literacy instructor in camp, and a bit of a personal background. I grew up going to camp. I loved going to camp, connecting with others, and I grew up doing theater as well. So I have been in many productions. I have had some training as an actor. My degree is in performing arts as well as communications. And again, I've been working in schools and camps for the past several years. So I've had quite a bit of experience talking in front of kids. I've worked with as little as 3 years old to as old as 17 or 18, but mainly I've worked with elementary aged children. Okay, so when one is starting to talk in front of a group of kids, it is good to be prepared, just as if you were talking to a group of any sort. So you want to ask yourself all these questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how. All right, so the 5 W's. Again, if you were on our public speaking presentation the other night, these might look a bit familiar, but we want to sort of tweak this in focusing on the age of the students. So who are these students? How I talk to, or you might talk to, a 3-year-old is very different than how we might talk to someone in junior high or high school. The language we use is different. The tone we use is different. So it's sort of thinking about what to use to connect to that age. Where are they developmentally? And going from there. How do they see you, and how do you want to be seen? So how you're seen by a child who, again, is in preschool or kindergarten, who is 5 or 6 years old, is going to be a bit different than a teenager or someone who is in junior high, maybe. They might see you more as a role model or sort of someone they can connect with a bit more, while a younger child might see you more as an authority. They're a bit more black and white thinking, while as people get older, we understand the complexity of thinking, and they might challenge you a bit more and ask different questions. So how do you want to be seen by these kids, these individuals? And that's a good question to ask yourself. How do you maintain interest? So how to get attention? How might you address this group of students? There are so many different tactics, which we will talk about more later, from call and response to using silly voices or singing. So again, what you might use with a younger group of students. So for myself, in my preschool work, I've started singing, or even in my current job, if I am trying to get a group of attention of my younger students to say clean up, I might go, all right, everyone, clean up, clean up. And as you sing, they'll sort of follow along. While this may not work with high school students, that might be a bit more of a different way to address them. All right, how to meet their needs. So kind of asking her, what my purpose this group of, and what do they need? Kind of going from, and how to manage behavior. Behavior management is a big part of being a part of the classroom or working with kids. There are so many different tactics to help this, and it can range from things of where to place students in a classroom to positive reinforcement. Simply saying things like, oh, thank you, so-and-so, you look ready to go. Oh, great job listening. That bit of positive reinforcement instead of, hey, stop, might just be that what those kids need to really come together to hear you. All right, the next of our 5 W's is what. So you want to have a good understanding of what you are teaching and how to deliver it. So knowing your topic and knowing how to engage kids on this topic and being interactive. For example, at my full-time work, every day we have a meeting. In the afternoon, we actually have a few throughout the day. So our first meeting is when the students come in. They have just come from their day at school. And so as you can imagine, they have lots of energy. They just got out of school. They want to chat with their friends. They had been sitting just for a period of time. They have a lot of energy. So, some things we might do to get their interaction is say, all right, if you had cereal for breakfast, stand up. And so some kids will stand up, some kids will sit down. Or asking a question or a joke, giving them a brain teaser, sort of making them think and come together and ask their friends, oh, what do you think? What do you think? Kind of helps slowly bring in the attention to sort of begin our meeting for the day, which is talking about our agenda or what we have planned for that day and after school. Sometimes telling a story of something interesting that happened or something funny that happened will help gain the kids' attention as well. Or alternatively, asking the kids if they have anything they want to share. Kind of have them all listen to each other and build that community will also be really helpful. All right, our next of the 5 W's, when. So when are these students here? When are you talking to them? So talking to a group of students in the morning might look very different than talking to them in the afternoon. If I was having that meeting I just mentioned early in the morning, it might look a little different. Maybe it wouldn't be so loud. Maybe we'd start with a soft spot and then slowly start into our day. Maybe we would start with something like a story. Really thinking about the time of day will help. And with that, thinking of the timing day helps assess the student needs. If this is right before a time where they're going to eat, maybe they're hungry. So that might cause some grumpiness or something like that. So really thinking of, where are my students at and how is that going to impact what I'm about to say to them or the activity we're about to do together. Right after lunch, they might have more energy. And so doing a game or activity that requires more physical interaction might be helpful. Or alternatively, it might not. So really thinking about what your students need and the time of day to try to go into that. Also, the time of year. Here, specifically in Boston, the weather and the time of year is huge. We see 100-degree weather in the summer and freezing temperatures in winter and everything in between. So knowing the time of year and how that might be impacting the students is also important. So thinking about anything with time of year might help. Also holidays. Students might get more excited around holidays or nervous. They might feel a bit more out of routine if they just came back from a vacation or a school break. So sort of taking that and really meeting them. For example, a week ago, we saw a group of my students for the first time in 3 weeks, and their energy levels and how they uh, went about their day really showed. It felt very overstimulating, and they were very energetic and a bit out of their routine. And we reminded ourselves, it's been 3 weeks. They're adjusting. It's okay. So keeping that in mind as well. All right. And where? So knowing where this will take place, again, these atmospheres can change how the students might perceive you or perceive the information they are getting. And you want to keep that in mind as well, whether it's online or in person, keeping those things in mind. And why? So a big question students may ask someone is, well, why am I doing this? Why do I need to listen? This has come up in my work, and that's something they are curious about, especially if they might not understand right away how this is related to what they're about to do or being asked to do. So kind of sharing with them, and being transparent. This is the information. This is what we're learning. I noticed that maybe it would be helpful to improve your skills, and this is how we're going to practice that skill. And try to give them a new perspective with it, especially if it's a skill or a subject that they're frustrated with learning, sort of trying to navigate a new perspective.
Hi, Bridget. We cannot hear you.
Hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Oh, hold on. One moment. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Don't know what happened. Um, do you need me to back up at all, or?
Uh,
Okay. Was I cut off at this slide, Luke?
yes. Why?
Okay. So why? Sorry about that. Not sure what happened. So the why. Why do kids need to listen? So some children will question or might challenge their teachers or adults in their life about why they may need to learn something or know something, and may get frustrated or express um, a big emotion around that. So being able to talk to them and to say, this is information that we should practice, or this is something that is important to learn, and this is why. I've noticed that in working with kids, sort of just really being transparent and giving them the reason is really helpful for them. And they really are eager and curious to know the deep roots of why they are being taught something when they are asking those questions, especially. Students who might be feeling frustrated about a particular skill might especially give pushback. So encouraging them to see it from a new perspective and to improve the skill and why they should improve that skill can be really helpful for them to understand, okay, well, let me give it a try. I think is a big part of this why question. At the bottom here is a quote from Stephen Sondheim. It says, careful the things you say, children will listen. So children are so intuitive, as we all know, to how things are said and what things are said and why things are said. So they can really take those pieces to heart and, make their own thoughts about it. So being careful in how you present information and why you're presenting information to students is a big part of this. Okay, so with that, think of a teacher who made a powerful impact on you. Why did it affect you and how did they achieve this? This can be positive or negative. So, for example, I had a teacher when I was fourth grade and I was about 9 years old, and she made such a positive effect on me. And I think it's part of the reason why I became a teacher. She really helped me out. My grandfather had passed away at the time, and I was going through the grieving process as a young child. And she really started fostering this using writing as to help me move through these emotions. And just that simple gesture of sitting with me and talking about it and helping me write a poem really made such a big impact on me as a child and created this love for writing that I've developed over the years. So she was a wonderful impact on me, and even how she taught our classroom and made us a community was such a powerful impact. Alternatively, I had another teacher when I was in the sixth grade who um, she did not show that same level of believing in me. You said, "Oh no, you can't do it." It was an art teacher, and she tended to kind of diminish or brush aside what I was trying to do, my creativity, my imagination, and I felt so, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? And there was an anxiety around art class because of how this teacher or how I felt this teacher perceived me based on her tone, what she said. So teachers have a lot of impact. So really thinking about that and kind of thinking about how you want to present to your students and connect with your students, not only individually, but as a whole. So just some food for thought to think about that. Okay. So again, what will your impact be with your students? How will you help them grow? And, thinking of all these aspects in going into your lessons, going into your activities, how are you going to do this? And remember, have confidence. Your mentality is a big part of this. So there's a reason why you are teaching. There's a reason why you were with these students. So be confident in yourself, even on days when you aren't feeling 100% maybe. There is a reason why you're there. And even just connecting with one student and helping them with a skill that they need practice with or meeting those milestones will make a huge difference to them. All right, so with that, does anyone have any questions as we go forward?
Okay. Let me share a little bit of my experiences.
Yes.
When I first started to teach, it was 33 years ago. I was a young man, and my students were second graders, and they did not understand my language, even though we spoke the same language, Mandarin.
Oh,
But
wow.
I use adults' language. So when I try to explain to them what this should be done, and they did not listen. They did not understand what I said. And
Right.
also another problem is how do you discipline your students? And it seems you have a lot of tactics, like how to get your students' attention without having to yell at them, how to ask them questions, and also taking so many different factors into account. For example, you say maybe it's because they are hungry, so they get kind of grumpy.
Yes.
I mean, if you can have like a list of tactics to use for to share with other teachers, it would be very good.
Yes, and we're about to get to some of those in just a moment, especially with their attention and kind of going with their tactics. I will say a big piece of it, sometimes it's not going to be perfect every time. We're all human, we all have to learn in the moment. And as you get to know your individual students, you will get to know their needs. So I'll give a quick example. When I taught theater at a summer camp a few years ago, I would have groups of kids at different times throughout the afternoon. And there was a student I had from I think 2:30 afternoon. It was either 1:30 or 2:30, but same time every day. And I had this one student who I knew him very well. He was in about first grade. It was like clockwork. Every day at 2:30, when we were about to start theater as a summer camp activity, he would have a meltdown. He would cry, he would throw himself on the floor, he would bawl his eyes out, and it wasn't necessarily about theater. He just was doing it. And we knew what to expect after a little while and said, okay, we made tactics. We, prepared him. Hey, this is what's going to happen today. We're going to do this. It turns out after some time, there were times where he would fall asleep. And it turns out he had a sleep disorder. He had some sleep issues. And that was the time of day where he just became exhausted. So his parents and myself, we made plans to help him out and trying to address his needs. But we knew, okay, this is what's going to happen. So we were able to prepare what would be helpful for him, give him a bit more rest time. So that way he was able to enjoy and participate in the afternoon. But yes, as you get to know your students, you sort of see, okay, I know at 12 o'clock, this student might become a bit more cranky because she's hungry. Okay. So it's sort of knowing how to anticipate that and navigate around that. Again, a bit of trial and error. Um, and as you get to know your students, it helps. But here are some tactics as a whole that might help when getting your students' attention and how to move through the day. Um, so, how to gain a student attention. So, first of all, you want to make good impressions. So, you want to dress to impress. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean a suit and tie or anything fancy. You want to connect with kids. So, some things I might do is, uh, in my after school program, I might wear a logo on a shirt that might be a book such as Harry Potter, where they say, oh, I know Harry Potter, and we'll talk about it together. You also want to dress as someone that they would respect. So imagine a teacher that you've seen, and thinking, okay, that's how I want to present myself to this group of students. Stance. So how are you going to stand? How are you going to speak in front of kids? Being your shoulders curved in or slumped over, kids might, they notice these pieces of your physical body and say, what's going on here? So they definitely pick up on those things. If you seem, like you're not sure what's going on, they pick up on that. They're very intuitive. So, kind of finding your stance, feeling grounded to be able to interact with these students is a good starting point. And get on their level. This is more for when you're talking with students one-on-one, especially when a student is upset or a student might be, trying to understand something a bit more, getting down on one knee and looking them in the eye, having yourself face to face is helpful and then helps them feel a bit more comfortable, like they are being heard, that they understand what you're saying, and there's a mutual back and forth, and that helps, especially when students are really having a hard time grasping something. Okay, so use your toolbox. So there are a lot of ways to get students' attention grabbing. So when you're starting off a class, something that you might do is, one common thing is, if you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap twice. And they will clap with you. Or if you can hear my voice, put your hands on your head, and then students will follow. If you could hear my voice, put your hands on your stomach. If you can hear my voice, do a funny dance. These things will kind of help them interact and engage, but also bring their intention to you so that they can prepare to transition into the class or the meeting or whatever it is you are about to do. Using your voice as a tool. There are times where I will be with my students and I will start to sing, or I will talk in a funny accent or a voice to get their attention. And they will say, "Hey, that's not how you sound," or "What are you doing?" And, it makes them curious. "Why are you doing that? Hey, can you say that again?" And they think it's entertaining. So that'll definitely get their attention. Or they might also give the funny voice a try, and try it out, and that'll also bring their attention together. Having some games. There are many games that are out there. There's one, for example, called The Green Glass Door. So this is sort of a logic puzzle, and it's very simple. There's a rule, such as the only thing that can go through the green glass door are certain objects. So it can be things that are only the color green, or words that only start with the letter W. You can change it anytime. And students will ask, "Oh, can I bring a water bottle?" And you might say yes, because you know the rule, which is it starts with the letter W. But the students are trying to figure out what that rule is, what category of it are they trying to match. So games like that. Silence is very powerful. Sometimes, giving a reminder, "All right, I'm going to get started." And then some kids will hear you, and that silence, kids will say, "Oh, okay, we got it. Okay, everyone, listen. And that silence can be a powerful tool. And they will sort of help each other out and notice the silence to help bring everyone together. Positivity as well. So it is very easy to be quick to say, "Hey, everyone, listen up," and or, "Hey, stop doing that," or, "Hey, look up here." But positivity is students react much more positively to. And so saying things like, "Oh, I see so-and-so looks ready. Good job, so-and-so. Oh, and now so-and-so looks ready too. Great job. I see that you're quiet. You're ready. Oh, and oh, thank you for sitting down. Great job." This, especially for younger students, it's like wildfire. They they want to be praised too. And so they'll slowly, "Okay, I'm ready to go." And they'll sit and they'll look right at you and they'll be ready. Again, these aren't something that happens every day. You always want to change it up a little bit. So kind of keep them on their toes to help them out. But having all these different tools and tactics will help get their attention. And having a routine. I will talk about this a bit later as well. But if you have the same routine every day, such as this is when we're going to start class and this is how we're going to start class, they'll catch on to, okay, now it's time to, bring my attention to the teacher. Okay, now is not the time to talk to my friend. And that'll help them out. Okay, a big time that is tough for all age groups is transition times. So times when you're going from one activity to another. This could be from one lesson to another lesson or one activity to the next activity. These across all age groups that I've seen is always a big conversation on how to make these easier for kids. So again, routine is key. So having those transitions look as consistent each time. If it's during the school day or an after school program, having the same schedule so they know, oh, okay, I know what's coming next. I know how I'm going to get to that next activity or class or thing is important. Trying to make it quick. So, kind of say, okay, we're going to do this and then we're going to move into that and try to move as quickly as possible. Helps them out as well, especially students who might get anxious or, react negatively. It helps them if those transitions are quick so you can dive into the next thing. Engaging. So in the picture, you might see their arms are out as well as the adult they're with. They look like they're balancing on that piece of wood. It looks like there's a step down into the dirt there. So, I imagine this teacher or camp counselor or whatever her title may be, she could have easily walked on the grass or walked on those wood chips to get to another place, but instead she made it into a balancing game. This is a narrative I've seen before. So kind of engaging those kids even from going from point A to point B using games, different physicality can be so engaging. And a recent example, a coworker of mine was lining up a group of children to take them to the bathroom. And, she was getting frustrated at one child in particular who was making a humming noise and had his arms spread out very similarly. And she was getting frustrated. She, just get in line, stop making that noise. And I said, hold on a second. I said, oh, why are you making that noise? What's going on? And he said, he was very sweet, I just want to be an airplane. Oh, okay, great. All right, so we're going to have some airplanes. All right, where's your destination? And he said, oh, I want to go to Antarctica. Great, spread your wings. Get in line, get ready to go to Antarctica. And then we asked all the kids standing in line, okay, what's your destination? And what's your destination? Where are you going to fly to? And soon enough, they all had smiles on their faces. They had their arms spread out, and they all were able to stay in line and follow, making their airplane noises and headed to the bathroom from there. So these simple tactics can help transform something that, is hard, like standing in a line, to something that's fun and engaging. There are other ways to be quiet. Say, okay, we're going to sneak around, try to make so quiet noise that no one can see you. Or even if that's going back to their seats, okay, let's try to get back to our seats as quietly as possible. Let's see if we can do that. And if you are animated and you act with them, they will get excited and join in. Okay, any questions about transition times or getting attention of students?
I think we can finish the presentation first. And
okay.
Observers, if you have any questions, you can ask later.
Okay, great. All right, so let's move on to planning. All right, so when you are planning for an activity, there are a few things you want to consider. So the direction, so activities having a beginning, middle, end, and allowing kids to ask questions or comment on it. Kids will get excited about things and, might express that comment before the activity even begins. But, kids are learning too, so they might have questions, say, how do I do this? Or might need clarification on a direction. But when you are planning an activity, you want to be able to tell them, okay, this is what's going to happen first, and then this is when it's over. So they sort of understand, okay, those are the 3 stages of what I need to do. Okay, so some things that you might want to consider, and again, thinking of the pieces we talked about earlier, time of day, time of year, their developmental needs or academic needs go in with this. So allowing for movement. So kids at different times or depending on who they are might be more energetic, might need that movement. Mental stimulation. If it's something that challenges them just enough, they'll get engaged. Something we see in our after school program is if we put something out that they enjoy and gives them that mental stimulation on for a week or so, you could see they really enjoy it and they'll get into it. But if you continue to have activity lesson over again, they don't because they've done it. So there's a difference between having them practice and then once they've mastered it, they need something new to challenge them. So independence. So we want to make sure that students don't always need some teacher help, that they can do pieces of the lesson or activity on their own and kind of foster those skills on their own or with the help of their classmates. Building a good atmosphere. So making sure the students feel safe and they feel comfortable and engaging in this environment. And the quote, if you build it, they will come. So not every activity might start as you'd hoped, but if you sort of build it and show the patience and show the passion and slowly build it up, they will begin to see what you are doing and why it's exciting or why it will help them, and they will come and it'll develop into this wonderful thing. So also in preparing for activities, you want to make sure you have everything you need, supplies, materials, and just your own strengths as a teacher, and you can always use your students as a resource as well. Okay, so preparing activities. So we've talked about this a little bit. So thinking about what they want versus what they need. So thinking about all those pieces we talked about, where they're at developmentally, where they're at with their skill, where they're at with their interests, energy, and creating a positive environment. And where you're at yourself. Are you excited about this? Because the kids will also pick up on that. If you're excited, they'll be excited. And if you don't know how to do it or what you're teaching or what you're doing, then they're going to be confused and they're going to be picking up on that as well. And even on top of that, if a student asks you and you're not sure, you say, you know what? That's a great question. I don't know. Let's figure that out together. And that can create a great moment for you and the student to learn together and to build on your relationship. So there's a lot of focus here. So in English and English as a foreign language, as ITA students, observers, I know you might recognize some of these words. So focusing on speaking and writing, reading and listening are 4 big areas of teaching EFL or English. And on top of that, focusing on new vocabulary, incorporating authentic materials. And I think incorporating movement as well is very helpful to kind of connect the students with the material. Recreationally speaking, these are some areas as well that are great for kids to participate in that academically they don't always see throughout their school day. So thinking of these different areas and how to sort of pull from these recreational areas into the classroom and to help them promote a lesson or pieces of a learning objective that might not come with something you might traditionally see in the classroom. So using different resources and materials. So using your body, using your voice, And again, those back pocket activities, there's all these different things that you can do. So for using your body, so using dance, using gestures, using anything from clapping and stomping is a great way to engage the students into a lesson. These back pocket activities, there's so many things that you can do. So again, saying riddles or jokes or any of those materials that we've spoke about before. There are so many resources out there that you can plug into your lesson. How do I find these materials? So there's a lot of resources. There's a lot of connections with online that you can get in your TEFL or TESOL community. Pinterest is a major source that I found helpful, or even doing a Google search as well. I know we're running short on time, so we're going to keep going. All right, so this is a big question, but I can't do it is a phrase that is very commonly heard with young students. The ways to react to this: give them positive reinforcement, give them encouragement. Just saying, maybe not. I don't imagine many teachers would say that, but, understanding why they're saying that, really getting to the root of why they're saying that is important, because it might really illuminate what's going on. I had a student once who did not want to engage in theater because he had a bad experience doing it. And, I did not want to make him do something he was uncomfortable with, but we kind of found an alternative way for him to participate without having to perform and create that anxiety for him. So really understanding and having alternative ways to help the student out. With that, the iceberg metaphor, this might be familiar to some of you as well. So knowing that there's so much going on that you might not see with any student. You are only seeing part of the surface. I had a student the other day who was losing in a game, and he started crying so much. I'd never seen him cry so much before. And as I began to talk to him and understand why he was so upset, I learned that he had so much stress going on in his life. And he had, again, been adjusting back from being on winter break. And he was really having a hard time with, adjusting being back at school. And, he was talking about different things at home that was stressing him out, and just being able to really hear him and say, okay, I understand what's going on and why losing this game must have been so upsetting, was, a big insight into what was going on with him. So a quote that I found to be very resonating with the subject: they may forget what you said, but they will not forget how you made them feel. So this is something to really think about when you're teaching and how you go about interacting with students. So they will always remember how they felt, even if they don't exactly remember the context of it. And so kind of taking that with you as you teach. All right, and with that, any questions or comments? Let me just, okay.
Okay. Let me change the view again.
Yes.
Yeah, I wish we had more time because it's a wonderful, wonderful presentation.
Yes. Sorry if I rushed through it.
Yes, you have so many experiences.
Yes, I've met a lot of students. I've worked with many students. Again, sorry if any of it was rushed. I want to make sure we could go through all those points. Yeah. I've worked with many students.
Teachers will be interested in talking about the things you just said. in the future. So,
Yes.
and yeah, we would like to know more about your tactics, and maybe next time you can have some um, case studies. Like in this case,
Yes.
we use this tactic, it worked. And so if you have like 2 or 3, and then we have about 10 minutes to talk about them. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's good to have an introduction like this, and we will keep exploring ideas for the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I became a better teacher when I became a better person, and that is the result of my studying humanities. I like literature, philosophy, drama, and all these subjects made me think a lot about life and the meaning of life and uh, my mission as a person. So,
Yes.
I mean, if you have this, if you can change your personality and become a better person, and no matter what tactics you use, students will understand you mean well for them, and they will want to cooperate with you. Yeah,
Yes. Absolutely. And I
and
mean,
yeah, like you said, using positive language and
yes.
don't lose your temper is hard, but
Yes.
yeah.
It takes a lot. Even in some trainings I've learned, even saying for example, instead of saying stop running, if you say please walk, that alone
Make a
is such a
difference.
difference in how the kids perceive you. And I think of that constantly in my school because kids naturally just run up and down the hallway because they want to get they need the bathroom, or they're excited, or and
Yes.
saying, "Oh, walking feet, please walk, slow down." And even that language, instead of "stop running, what are you doing? Slow down," can make such a difference.
Yeah, I think I hope more Taiwanese teachers will watch your video and do some self-reflection.
Yes. It's always good to have everyone needs a reminder, myself included, every once in a while.
Yeah, and be patient. That's a
Yes,
virtue. Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your presentation, and thank
Yes.
you so much for your time, everyone. We will see you tomorrow.
Yes. All right. See you tomorrow, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye.